All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 371 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm back this week, and today we've got Alain Bellicha back with us on the KissFAQ Podcast, special guest, author of, well, I think he's done something, so that's something real. And of course, Lonnie, St. Louis Kiss. Hi, Lonnie.
Hi.
And Ken, thank you too for holding down the fort with Mark last week. It was Mark with you as well, wasn't it?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't watched yet, so I'm sorry.
That's right.
I did give you thumbs down, though.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
that's what we expect.
This week, no, we're thrilled to have Alain join us on the show. Alain has just published his 29th Kiss photo book from Japan, Kiss on Tour, 1974 to 83. So up through the Lick It Up tour, starting with the first tour and some goodies. Alain, before we get into putting you under the microscope, I would just like to get your background on the project, because you started talking about this in March, or did you start thinking about it in March? And March of which year in which decade?
Yes, the project really started this year, and I think you were one of the first, maybe the first person I talked to, because I had this idea of doing a sort of huge tour book of the first 10 tours, and I wanted your input and your cooperation and your permission to use some of the work that you did in your excellent books. And so yeah, I always like to think of making Kiss books, and I think it was around March this year. I had solidified the concept. I sent an email to Kiss's what are they called? A licensing company, and then I consulted with you about what I could use and what I could not use for this project. So yes, March of 2021 was when this idea started.
So between March and the end of August, you started shipping. That's a very tight time window in which to think about a project, to get it moving. During that whole time, what aspect of the book, and we'll talk about what's inside. We won't be showing you anything inside. If you want to play, you're going to need to buy the book, but I think we'll give you enough ideas about how we think that it's worth purchasing from Alain, risk-free, to do that. But we want to get into the nuts and bolts behind the creative process with you. So,
okay.
What were some of the areas that were the biggest challenge in meeting such a tight deadline? And did you decide from the beginning that you wanted to do this rapidly and not let it fester and, sit unrealized for a long period of time?
Yes, you have to. A project has to have a beginning and an end. An ongoing project is not a project. So yes, it was my job also for over a decade, creating textbooks and materials. So I knew what I was doing. You have a very important concept, which is beginning with the end in mind. So you have to know when you start, how it's going to look when it's finished. So I set myself a 6-month timeline to finish everything. For Kiss, the hardest part is always photos. That's a lot of people have a lot of photos, and which photos can you use and which photos tell a story. So I would say that the most complicated aspect was securing photos, paying for photos, buying the photos. The rest is just knowledge and skills. So which you have when you work. The part of the most volatile aspect are definitely finding the right photos of Kiss, vintage Kiss photos.
Yeah, particularly ones people haven't seen before or don't remember seeing before, being slightly different. Before I go to Lonnie for a question, we're going to go all over the board. We're not going sequentially on this. We're going to hit you for things here and there throughout this conversation, because I think that's a more organic way of having the conversation. So, Lonnie, why don't you get going with some of your comments and questions about the book?
Well, the book itself is so high quality and so well done.
Thank you.
It blew my mind looking at it. It's like, oh my gosh, this is. I mean, I have Alan's books from before. This is absolutely extraordinary. And it just details each tour like a few page snapshot of each tour, and then like a scrapbook section at the end, right, to wrap it up. And it gives you like an idea of what was going on that tour, just in a few pages, and just a few pages, and showcases each member of the band as it goes through the tours, which is, I think, is great. Even when we get into the later days, it still showcases each member of the band, whether it's Eric Carr or Vinny, and gives them the recognition that they deserve as an equal member of the band. I guess my first question to Alan is, why stop at 1983? Why not stop at the end of 79 with the original 4? Why not stop at 82 at the end of the makeup? Why 1983?
That's an excellent question. But first of all, thank you very much for pointing out the balance of the band members. I really tried very, very hard. Most of the time when you open the book as a spread, you will see the 4 members of the band. And I really tried as much as I could to do that for each tour and almost each spread. Especially Peter and Eric, they're the drummers. It's always hard to find good photos, but I'm so glad, and thank you for noticing that. That I really put a lot of time and effort in featuring all band members for each tour. To be honest, and it's a scoop because I haven't told anyone. My original plan was to have 2 volumes, 74-83 and 84-95. Unfortunately, the 84-95 project could not take off because there was one very big special guest that could not make it. So I really wanted that person to be involved, and he couldn't. So I sort of cut the Kiss story for this one to 83, which is 74 to 83 are 10 years, and 10 is a good number. So that's really the main reason. The other section would have been great also, but like I said, I couldn't make it.
That's really, really cool. Ken, I'm going to go to you next. So I want to ask Alan something about spreadsheets. So obviously I'm finishing my own project at the moment. I have a spreadsheet where I'm actually counting the number of instances of each member of the band to make sure that the 2 principal members are evenly represented in all the photo licensing that I'm doing. Did you do similar? Did you go through counting to see how many because of each member were kind of represented in the photos? Because I know people went through and counted the Lynn Goldsmith book, how many of each band member, and then they came back and said, well, Gene had X amount of photos. And also on the spreadsheet question, did you do a project plan for this, to keep track of your work and all the things that you wanted to, kind of accomplish?
I did not count each photos for each band member, but to answer the question, the first thing you do when you make a book is you make a spreadsheet. You start your book on Excel. That's the first thing you do, because it's basic algebra for a project plan. How many are you going to print? How much do you think you can sell? How many pages do you want to put? How many photos do you think you can buy? How much is each photo? You start the book on Excel, and you open the spreadsheet and you do your math. So that's yes. After that, you have yes. I had a list of all the photo agencies I contacted, the freelance photographer I contacted, how many photos I thought I could license, how much each cost. You have to keep track of your costs at all times because that's what's called a budget. That you don't want to go over your budget. And so your answer is yes. I have
You're
I have a
not you're not
spreadsheet.
supposed to go over your budget, bugger.
Huh.
And you're supposed
In
to have a
theory,
budget.
in theory, but then you go to Shinko Music and they open the vaults for you, and you go, I need to license more photos. So you need to be flexible at times, strategically decide what photos you're going to use, how much you're ready to pay. You have to be flexible within your boundaries.
Yeah, and there's some very big names that you'll pay a premium on using any of their photos, whereas other photos are not necessary. Then all photos are not the same price, and the budget will help you
That's right.
define what the cost of your product is. Ken, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting so long. I do take control of things.
Not at all. First of all, I totally agree with what Lonnie had said, and to me, and I just got this yesterday because it took a while to get to me, but I was pleasantly surprised, really, of the quality and all the pictures. Like I'd never seen any of this stuff before.
Thank you.
It's just fantastic. It's like rediscovering Kiss back in that time period, going through this book. It's really cool. Something that I wish was probably done a long time ago, but I'm glad you did it now. And I love the text. I mean, there's tons of pictures, but the text going along with all those pictures, and the scrapbook type ways you've done some of the stuff, and then the reviews and things like that. That there's reviews I never seen before. I don't remember reading, but they're always good to read. But yeah, this is just fantastic. I mean, I just started to read it yesterday a little bit. I got partway through it, but I've been paging through it, and there's just there's just some really nice shots.
Thank you.
Each band member, Kiss. We may have seen some other ones, before in the same kind of photo, session or concert or whatever. But we're so used to seeing the same old photos. This is like, okay, this is new. I never seen these things before, and they're really very cool. Pictures like from maybe Creatures of the Night and stuff like that I've never seen before. It's like kind of just they're goofing around and stuff like that in the picture or whatever. But I just think you did a great job. It'd be nice to have a volume 2 if it's ever possible. But yeah, that's a great start though. Very good.
Well, yeah. If you're putting,
much.
if this is taking you 6 months, that means you can do 2 of these per year. So
What's the
come on.
price?
There's a downside to setting the bar so high, Alan. Do you know the photo count off the top of your head, or a rough guess on how many photos roughly are in this work?
Well, I would say between 250 and 300.
Jeez. I mean, my initial impression, and I'm going to say straight up, I am terrible with photographs. I don't remember what I've seen, but it felt fresh. It felt well selected. It felt proportionally representative. But you've also got some absolutely stunning and quite historic photos contained in there, and certainly some which from the text have never been told or published before, period. So these are
quite a few actually.
Yeah, I'm thinking of one, and it's early in the show, but I want to talk about Belgium.
Let's talk
Because
about Belgium.
those jump off the page completely. But I don't want to say anything about them because I don't want to give too much of the context away. How on earth did those come to be in this book, and can you tell us about what about the story you want to tell about the story, and tell everyone how they can finish the story necessarily by purchasing the book.
Okay. Yeah, so spoiler alert, I'm from Belgium. I was born in Brussels. I lived there for 25 years. So I had heard of, quite late actually, of that Kiss had played in Belgium in 1976 on June 6th. The last show of the European Destroyer Tour was in Belgium. And for decades, people didn't even know that. And I was speaking to collectors and photo enthusiasts and Belgian Kiss fans, and no one had ever seen photos of that show. For the longest time, nobody even knew that show had happened. And finding those photos and publishing them to me is really it's a treat for various reasons. It was a real treasure hunt to find them, and lots of luck. It's a long story. Do we have the time?
I think it's one of the cornerstones of the book. So
Okay.
So please.
Okay. All right. It started on eBay. For the longest time, there was on eBay a TV magazine from Belgium from 1976, which had in the description Kiss 1/4 of a page. And I saw it for years, and I never wanted to buy it because it was 35 euros plus shipping to Japan would have been 50 euros. That's like $60 for 1/4 of a page. But when I started to get going with this project, I thought there may be something cool in that TV magazine. You know what a TV magazine is, right? They're like they have the programs of the TV channels. I don't know if there are still any around, but so that TV magazine was from June 2nd, which is before the show, and I thought maybe it's an ad for the Kiss concert. And what decided me to buy this item was that the seller had another TV magazine which had Kiss in the description, half a page, and that one was 2 weeks after the show. So I decided to pull the trigger, spent $120 on 2 TV magazines from Belgium from 1976 without knowing anything what was going on, hoping I would strike gold. And when they arrived, I did. I was extremely happy. The first one was indeed an ad announcing Kiss was coming to Belgium, and the second one was a review of the show. Now, the good thing about the review of the show was there was the name of a journalist who attended, and I had lived in Belgium for a long time, and that name kind of rang a bell because he was kind of a rock personality, and so I had heard the name before. But I Google searched his name. I found a website made by a gentleman in Belgium about the heydays of the rock scene in Belgium, the 70s and 80s, and there was an interview with that journalist, a long interview. And in that interview, he says, those days were great. We would go to shows 2 or 3 times a week. There was always something going on. And I would always go with my friend so-and-so, a photographer who took pictures.
Oh.
I thought 2 important things here, always and took pictures. So I Googled the name of that photographer. I found an email address. I sent him an email. The email bounced back, not found, blah, blah, blah. I had to dig a little bit deeper. I found the address. I found his phone number. I sent him another email saying, I'm from Belgium. I'm a Kiss fan. I'm making a book. I would like to license photos, but no response. So I let that rest for a few weeks. And when the book really started, I got the approval, I decided to call that photographer. He was from Belgium, from Brussels. I took my best Belgian French accent from Brussels, And I introduced myself, and he says, "Oh yeah, Kiss." And I said, "You know?" I said, "Yeah, you sent me an email. I'm sorry I didn't respond, but yeah, I have lots. I have Kiss photos." I was like, "Oh, great! I'll send you some scans in a few days." 3 days later, I got a few scans from Brussels, 1980, black and white. Very nice, very nice. But I said, "That's great. What I'm really looking for are photos from 1976 in Harelbeek. They're wearing different costumes." And he says, "Well, that's the only ones I have scanned. I have archives of over 40 years of negatives. Negatives are very small, 30 by 20 millimeters. The man gentleman is probably over 70 years old. So it's very hard to identify. I don't know if I can do that or if I have the time." And I understood. And the next day or so, I wrote him a very nice email, telling him, "I understand you're very busy. I understand you have a huge archive of photos, but it would mean the world to me and the world for Kiss fans if you could spend some time, please, to look for those Kiss photos in Harelbeek 76. And then he replied, and that was the great thing. He says, "Even if I found them, there aren't many because they would not let me take photos. I had to be in the back of the arena. The Kiss security team did not let me take photos." And that was the first time he basically, the photos existed. He remembered being in Harelbeek. He remembered the security team telling him not to take photos. So I was already ecstatic that he knew he had photos of Kiss there. After that email, I didn't hear from him for three weeks perhaps, and I basically had given up. There's no way he's going to find photos of that, and he's not going to do it. But he sent me an email after about 3 weeks. He said, "I've started scanning photos of Kiss. I'll send them to you next week because I'm going to France tomorrow." And I was like, no. Please send me a screenshot. Send me anything. I don't want to wait another week. He sent me screenshots. One was Gene breathing fire in Brussels, a masked costume. But the second one, finally, was a shot of the stage, Kiss in a live costumes in a small stage. And those were from 76. Mm-hmm. And you cannot imagine how happy I was. And after a week, he sent me everything he had, and I made a selection. We agreed on the fee and all that. He was really nice, and it's basically thanks to his kindness and the time he spent looking through those negatives that we have those photos. And it was a long, research treasure hunt and lots of lucky breaks to get those photos.
I'm not going to play any favorites of the content in the book, but those might well be worth the price of admission right there. Because, again, how many people did they play to at that show? I think Kurt and Jeff estimated about 500 thereabouts. It was, regardless, a very small audience.
It's a very small hall as well, yeah.
Yeah, and with a really weird opening act, and again, that show did become the thing of legends. So that's really cool. One of the things that's been pointed out, to the feedback of those who are receiving their copies. Let's talk about shipping right now, because you've started shipping and you are shipping. Where are you at in the process? For people who have ordered and are wondering where their book is, what would you advise them at this point for the sort of delivery times you're seeing from various places?
I would say right now, everyone who ordered in August, your books have shipped. If you've even people who booked who placed an order in September, most of them have shipped. The thing is, with the back, people maybe misunderstood. When I did the pre-order, I did not have the books. I opened on August 11th. I did not have the books until August 25th. So if you ordered on August 11 or 12 or 13, 14, I could not ship the book the next day. And even now, if you order now, please understand I cannot ship the book the next day. I need 3-4 days to go to sort of find the time to process the order and pack everything and go to the post office. So it's been going very well. I mean, everything is on track. If you have placed the order this week, they will probably go out early next week, something like that. So please give me 4 or 5 days after you place the order, and then 10, 12, 15 days for the shipping, the delivery company to deliver the book.
Yeah, you're not asking for 6 years. You're a one-man show. You have a job. You have a life as well, and you're doing things as fast as you can within the confines of certain constraints. So relax. They're in the post. One thing that struck me was how quickly these are printed. That seemed to be very rapid.
Yes, well, they're printed in Japan, and the Japanese printing companies are very reliable, very fast, very high quality. I was kind of lucky in a way because I asked them for a quote in the middle of the summer, and I guess they came up with a very, very good quote and said we can do that in, I think, 6 or 7 days. And I said, okay, I'll take it. Let's do it. So I was almost a little early. I was planning to start shipping September 1st. I think that's what I had advertised. But I got the books on August 25th. So because I did not expect it would be Jean's birthday. That's right.
You have sent to Kiss, I hope.
Oh yes, definitely. Yes, they
Yeah.
ask for samples. Yeah.
Lonnie.
You guys talking about that Belgium. That's a fantastic story about how you get those Belgium photos. I mean, I can't help but when I look through here, and I tend to think of myself as a pretty big Kiss fan, but then I get on the show with Julian, and I feel like a little bit of an inferior Kiss fan. But I feel like I've seen a lot of Kiss photos in my lifetime, and I flip through here, and I'm like, I don't think I've seen that. I don't think I've seen that before, and it keeps going the whole way, and it's just like, this is extraordinary. I mean, it really is, and I'm kind of repeating myself from before, but it really kind of blows you away when you look at this, and not just the photos, but then the high quality, how great these photos from the 70s look. I mean, they look like they were shot last week almost. A lot of them do. They just fly off the page at you. I mean, I was blown away when I got it. I mean, I know Alan does great work. It's not like oh, Alan finally got it right, but no, Alan does great work, and I mean he's just outdone himself again, and I can't sing any higher praise. I really couldn't if I tried.
Thank you very much. I was very excited throughout the whole project when I would find these things. I just like to point out and about one of the photographers from 74, 75. If you go to that section, the black and white photos from this gentleman, the Hotter Than Hell tour. Let's not say his name, but he actually won Pulitzer Prize. You know what a Pulitzer Prize is? It's a higher prize for photography. So obviously, when he was there at the show in 74, he was a university student probably, or so he hadn't won the prizes yet. But yes, the quality of the photos, some of them is like you said, breathtaking. And I didn't really try to exclusively put photos that no one had seen before. But of course, everybody wants to see unseen photos. So that was the main drive. Of course, there are some that you have seen before, sometimes on Facebook, sometimes in other magazines. So it was not exclusively never before seen pictures, but the majority have never been published. And I think that's always a treat for us Kiss geeks.
Yeah, and it's not just the same. I mean, Ken said it earlier. It's really not the same stock photos that we see, like you see in so many different publications. Like, okay, well, I've seen that picture before from, the Love Gun tour book type thing, but there's no pictures like that as far as like stock photos that you always see. Absolutely. Sorry, Julie. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, even stock photos, things that pop up that you see on eBay or not on eBay, on Facebook, sorry, or other places, those haven't been paid for. Those are people just posting those willy-nilly. The photographer isn't, getting paid for their work, and that makes a big difference in when you purchase something. You can't put out a book of photos without paying for the permission and the rights to do those photos. Ken, for what you flipped through so far, if you're going to advise someone out there, which section do you want to go to? And then Alan, I'm going to ask you about the text and how you approach that. So Ken.
Which section? I think every section. I mean, every year has its own cool pictures. I mean, it goes through chronologically. I can't. You can't pinpoint anything. There's no standout stronger section from one to another. They're all really good. I mean, it must have been a hard time for you to select these pictures. I mean, there must have been. I mean, the ones you chose are fantastic. I'm just kind of. How difficult was it for you to pick these pictures over maybe some other ones that you saw?
Yes, it was. It was hard in a way that, like you mentioned, Julian, it's when you make a book, you have limited real estate. So you really have to find a photo that will illustrate as best as you can what you want to convey. And in balance with the text and some of the quote and some of the review that also tell the same story. I had this idea of recreating, so to speak, tour books. So, have large portraits, photos of each band member, some quotes, some live shots, and ending with a scrapbook style to wrap it up. I'm a huge Kiss fan, so looking at photos and selecting Kiss photo was a wonderful time. To answer your question, how difficult it is. You hope for a good balance of striking, exciting photos, colorful photos, photos that are clean without too many hands or heads or dirt spots or anything dirty. Plus a balance of the text, plus one that you've never seen before, plus one that fit with all the others. Honestly, there are a couple that I purchased, that I licensed, and then I didn't know where to put. So because I found better ones or I found different ones, so it was not easy, and at the same time it was extremely easy because I love it. But there are a couple of photographers I could not use because they came in too late. I didn't have any budget. There are some great ones that I had to let go because they were too expensive. So there's a lot of give and take in that process.
Yeah, and you really want to have, I think one of the important things is to have the rights and the contracts done on all the photos before you start laying things out. As I discovered to my own regret yesterday when I decided last minute to license an additional photo and had to spend hours, like 6 hours, redoing the layout for that whole freaking chapter. So you want everything there ready to go because construction is such a massive component in a project, especially one that's photo heavy, because the text is, I don't want to say light because that sounds negative. I would say it's concise. How do you define the text and how you approach the story you're trying to tell with the words to support the photos?
Well, I don't want to retell the same story that we've heard a million times. I was trying to look for a more of an original angle and a bit more, like you said, concise, like a very telling quote from a band member or from a review in the newspaper, just trying to capture the essence of what they were thinking at that time. sound bites. We know the band leaders are great at sound bites, and some comments of the journalists, the reviews. Some people really got it from very early on, and that's, I think, important to show. And also, in contrast, there's a really, really horrible review in the destroyer section, but it's so bad that it's great, and I had to include it because the guy he hated so many things so much. It's a pleasure to read and how bad it is. So it I wanted to give a sort of a summary, and then the essence of what the tour was viewed like. Mostly, obviously, focusing on the positive. There were some really bad reviews, some very negative reviews. No, not everyone loved Kiss, but I love Kiss, and the people who buy this book love Kiss. So I wanted to focus on the positive, praising reviews mostly. There are some critical ones. There are quite a few with a backhanded compliment in there and a bit snarky here and there. It's not all positives, not all rose and pink with pink glasses, but the overall is positivity. Kiss was one of a kind. It was an incredible show. It was an incredible experience. The fans loved him. I really liked a lot of the reviews that mentioned how crazy the fans were and how the band got an incredible response from the audience. And the reviewer mentions that I've never seen a band capture the audience so much, and there were quite a few like that. And that's what I wanted to convey and capture with this.
Yeah, I think the reviews in the 70s were 70% negative and maybe 30% positive, and a lot of the news features featured more kids going to the concerts than reporting on the concerts themselves, because you just see some of the critics just using big words and showing their college educations for the sake of being pretentious rather than actually. It was like an exercise every week. They'd go to a show and find new and creative ways to explore their writing skills, to show their derision that it wasn't Dave Brubeck or Mahavishnu Orchestra or something, artistically superior. Lonnie?
I'm with Ken in the fact that I like Julian's question of, is there a section that stands out to you? And it would almost be a disservice to the other sections for me to say one stands out above the others, because from one tour to the next, it is very good. But if I had to pick, I love the 1980 Unmasked section with Eric Carr in it. I think that those photos highlighting that European tour and the Australian tour, and like the ads that Kiss is coming to Australia, and like you could feel the hype in those ads. Even I'd never seen that ad before, and that Kiss Mania was still strong and as big as ever in that part of the world. After you flip through the Dynasty and you see some photos from Dynasty, and as great as Dynasty was, we all kind of know that the band was starting to wane in the States. And then you flip to Unmasked, and it was like, wow, it's like, maybe it's down over here, but over here, I mean, it is as strong as ever, and it kind of got you excited just to go in there. And then it's just the photos show a renewed energy in the band with Eric, and then obviously when you watch shows from that tour, you can see it. So I think those pictures really do an excellent job of depicting the energy and like renewed energy that was in the band at the time. So if I had to pick a section, which I didn't really want to, but if I had to, it would be that.
That's an excellent choice. Thank you. I have a special soft spot for Unmasked because I was a huge Kiss fan back then. At that time, I was in Belgium. Unfortunately, the Brussels show, I made it as far as the entrance of the arena. My elder brother got to go. I could accompany him to the door, but my parents did buy me a ticket. I had to see him go. I was in front of the arena. I saw all the fans with the T-shirts and the excitement, and he went. I didn't. His ticket is featured in the scrapbook, and yeah, I was a huge Kiss fan back then. When I remember, keep thinking when Eric Carr became the drummer for Kiss, I thought he was the luckiest guy in the world. He joined Kiss. He has his own makeup. He knows what the others look like without makeup, and he plays the drums. This guy is the luckiest man on earth, and I was totally into Kiss for Unmasked, and I fortunately I didn't see it. I couldn't get into the arena to the show, but I was living my first years of Kissmania during the Unmasked and the Unmasked tour. So I really like the photos and the whole vibe about them there as well.
Well, to follow up then, Alan, is that your favorite part of the book, or do you have a favorite section of the book?
It's very hard to select a favorite part of the book. Like I said, the photos from Belgium '76 are amazing. I was so glad I found some great photos from '75 in the Shinko Music Archives. I have this soft spot for Unmasked. So yeah, for me also, it would be very hard to select a special year or a special tour that I really I like them all really.
As we most do, I think.
Yeah, well, without a doubt. I mean, it's like picking favorite children. You just don't do that really. It's kisses, kisses, kiss. I think one of the things that I like what you've done is well represented in '78, '79, and '80. Is the design and the layouts that you've done. You've tried to make them unique. How do you approach the design? Do you have a template that you want to follow for each chapter, or do you want to deliberately have a very loose structure so that it doesn't feel the same repeated, just with different photos? How do you approach design to keep it interesting in your mind before anyone else gets to see it?
Well, you lay out the basic layout on the technical side, the margins and the columns and the space. So that's sort of the foundations. For the actual the second layer, I would say, of the visual aspect, I always wanted to give a little tip of the hat, sort of a tribute, homage to each era, not copying, not replicating or exactly mimicking the tour book of so and so or tour book of that year, but just giving a hint that Kiss fans would get. Like the color pattern for Creatures of the Night, although it's not in the Creatures of the Night tour book, but you kind of get it. He got the colors. Unmasked, you can see the fonts are a little like the Unmasked fonts. The Dynasty tour book is very white. Just the basic, the whole thing is white, but you only have the photos like the original tour book. The Alive '76 is black, so it kind of looks like it, but it doesn't look like it. I wanted to give little hints here and there for each tour, each era that the Kiss fans would get. So being quite flexible and fluid with the visual, but of course keeping the margins and the size, the fonts, and the placement of the photos pretty much the same throughout the whole book. That's for the technical side. Most photos are the same size and put in the same place. If you see the grid, you would know. If you see it with the colors and the strokes and all the bells and whistles, you probably can't notice. So you have continuity, but with original additions to give it the flavor, the look and feel of that particular tour.
Right. And do you what I do with mine is, obviously mine are text heavy, is I send them out to people to check out well in advance of publication. Do you ever do a print screen and send it to someone and say, hey, does this get your rocks off? What do you think of this? Or is this just coming straight from your heart to our eyes?
It's the latter. I am very protective and I don't like to show things half baked. So if you love it, it's all me. If you hate it, it's all me. I take responsibility for that. I as much also, it's very difficult to what should I say? You have to sit in context. That's why I also don't really like if people will show a few pages. You have to look through the whole thing. What is 2 or 3 pages going to show you? What's just going to show 2 or 3 pages? The whole book, I think, is what you need to look at and appreciate in context as well. So yeah, I'm pretty protective of my work process, and the first people who saw it are the first people who ordered.
Right, as it always should be. You've got quite a thanks list in there.
I,
You know,
I I'm if I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to add one thing. It's like people be very wary of people who promise free books and free copies and free everything and free samples. That shows that they don't value what they do. If someone throws away, oh, I'll give you a free book, I'll give you a free copy of this and this and that, maybe there's no copy of anything coming.
yeah, true. Very useful food for thought. Looking at the back page, I look in the credits and I see some people who I know are pretty serious collectors. How important is it to you to include people like that, other than obviously a need for what they have that you may not necessarily have? Is that a challenge in this sort of work, rather than dealing with just photographers, to then go to, you know, some people who often contribute to projects on a great scale and asking them for assistance, or do you keep track of who's posting what and what about their collections, so that that sort of thing?
Well, it's a different kind of treasure hunt as well. I we know the same people, and I've known several collectors for 20 years. I was also very secretive when I was asking, because most people who contributed didn't know what I was working on. I said, "Oh, do you have this? Can you send me scans of that?" Nobody really knew, except you perhaps, because I had to ask you about the. I told you, I think, very early on it was going to be 74 to 83, but nobody really knew what I was working on. Said, "Oh, it's 76. Oh, you're doing a book on 76. Oh, are you doing a book on 1980? Oh, you're doing a book on Creatures of the Night." I was keeping things very compartmented, to keep the secret in a way, so as to not to spoil the surprise. And yeah, it's of course, we have a great community and people have amazing pieces that no one has ever seen. And when they're kind enough to share some of them, not everything, and I understand that, but having this ephemera, like an old backstage pass, we get excited, or an old poster, or a T-shirt that we have never seen. It's great, and it's part of history, part of the tour, and it's a great addition, visually, and historically in a way. It may bring back memories for someone, and yeah, the book is by the fans for the fans. So definitely, everyone who wanted to contribute was more than welcome, and that's why it's a long list, because everyone who was kind enough to open their collection, to take the time to scan, to send stuff, I wanted to include what they sent. And I think it definitely adds to the photos, is those collectibles, this ephemera, memorabilia. I think it's a wonderful touch.
Yeah, I think there are very few fans left that are really of the mind of, I'm taking it with me to my grave and you're not seeing it. There's a couple on every band that I follow. There's people who are like that, but I find for the most part people are very forthcoming and willing, even when they don't know it. And come on, even though I may have known early on, I didn't know what it was going to look like, or how, or anything more than I really needed to, for that conversation, which made it a nice surprise for me as well. So So I must say you're a very brave man to take it all on, and to be able to, no leaks. We didn't see those photo sets from Belgium ending up on a Facebook page,
Nope.
a week after you
Not from
paid
me.
for them. Yeah,
No,
exactly. So
absolutely
so
not.
that's the nice thing. I think when you open up a book and it is something brand new, and you're like, wow, that you can still get that special feeling about seeing something.
Yes, when I found those photos, a lot of them, I was just like that. I said, "My God, I can't believe it's 2021 and I'm finding new Kiss photos from the 70s." It was fantastic. The whole process. I also got thanks to fans, someone who loves my work. Um, he was texting me about a Kiss Japanese item, and he's in Brazil. And I said, "Oh, by the way, do you know anyone who has photos of Kiss in Brazil?" And he says, "Oh yeah, I have a very good friend. He works for a newspaper, and they have plenty of photos." I was like, "What? What?" And he put me in contact with the that newspaper in São Paulo, and that's how I got the photos in the South American tour. Never been published. They had them, and he just, "Oh yeah, by the way, my friend works in a newspaper." I was like, "Fantastic, let's do it." That was also an incredibly lucky break. He texted me about the Japanese LP, and I replied back, "Oh, by the way," and that's how they ended up in the book. So, um, lots of lucky breaks.
All right, I think let's wrap this conversation up. Ken, any last thoughts to add, or any last buy this or else comments?
Yeah, buy this or else. I agree. Buy this or else. I mean, I don't know how many copies you have left or how many you printed, but it's if you're a Kiss collector and you love Kiss, you should definitely have this as one of the books in your collection.
I
It's
concur.
yeah. I'm glad I have it in mind.
Thank
Lonnie.
you.
No, I agree. I mean, if you're a serious Kiss collector and you don't get this, you're gonna be sorry if you don't get it, because it is that extraordinary, and it's amazing it's amazing what you put together in 6 months. It really is, considering the quality of the book and the quality of the photos, and the rareness of the photos, just everything about it. It's astonishing that you put this together in 6 months. So, 6 months from now, I'm looking forward to the next one.
No pressure. Thank
Right.
you. Thank you very much.
Alan, I'm not going to ask you, if you have regrets of something that didn't make it into the book. I'm not going to ask you about if you'll do anything in the future, because we're about the now and what really exists. I would like you to maybe comment on some of the comments you've seen on Facebook and on the FAQ or elsewhere since you started shipping or offering this, that maybe fans who are on the fence need to have answered directly from you when they can see you. Any concerns about shipping, any concerns about purchasing. What would you say to someone who's on the fence or who has raised a concern?
I would paraphrase you and say that if you're on the fence, jump and get it. It's been, the feedback has been phenomenal. I'm also personally extremely very very pleased with the result, and I think it's a great fan publication. Like if you heard in this episode, a lot of never before published photos, and Kiss fans love it. Please do not wait for too long, because it is a limited edition. Part of the deal that I have, the authorization, is that it's always very limited. It's not available on Amazon or brick or mortar shops. That's the back. That was the back cover right there. Yeah, and
If people are paying attention still.
It's not just a cover. There's 156 pages loaded with vintage Kiss photos from 74 to 83. The issues with shipping, right now it's mostly South America. That's a challenge for me to ship to Japan, but the book has been shipped pretty much everywhere else, and it has arrived. So please be patient. If you do order, give me at least 3 weeks for the book to arrive. Take me 4 or 5 days to process, 10 to 15 days to arrive in your home. And thank you very much, Julian. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Lonnie, for the time, for inviting me in today's podcast. And voila, thank you.
Well, where can people purchase it?
You can still run to Kiss on Tour 74-83.com. There is a page on Facebook as well, Kiss in Japan, the book. You can look up my name if you really want to. But the best, the easiest, fastest way is Kiss on Tour 74-83.com. There's an e-commerce page. You can click, immediately takes you to PayPal. The price is in Japanese yen, but PayPal will convert it in any currency of your choice.
And you get to see what that price is in your local currency at that moment in time as well. So you're not purchasing blind and then getting your PayPal statement or credit card statement or whatever, however you do it with a surprise sticker shop. And for the price of the book, I say it's good value for full color, glossy, except for the pictures that are in black and white. Obviously, it's very good quality. It's worth the price. It is A4 size, correct? Yes, it is A4.
That is correct. Yes.
And it is 150
cover to cover 156
pages, and it's hefty. So there we are. Kiss on Tour, 1974 to 83. I know there's a lot more questions, but there's a lot more podcasts. So, podcasters, you've listened to this show, you've listened to Mike Bruns. Get Alain on to talk about his book and ask him the questions that we haven't asked him. We left you meat on the bone. Look how nice he is. He'll come on your show and offer to you know where you can get it, and then he'll tell you some stories that he hasn't told us. That's how it works. So, Alain, thank you so much. And thank you for the work that you've put into it, because as a Kiss fan still, I love seeing new stuff. And without people who actually, well, they talk the talk or walk the walk. You've walked the marathon, you've survived the licensing, you've gotten permission. Imagine that, get permission before you do something. So congratulations, Alain. I hope the book does well and sells out rapidly for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Lonnie and Ken, for sitting there quietly while we had a conversation now. Thank you guys as well.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, that's it for this week, everyone. Kiss. Well, who knows what's going to happen on Kiss, and hopefully the guys will be around next week, because I'm not. So for now, from Alain, from Ken, from Lonnie and myself, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.